All right. Good morning. This is William. You've probably seen me on the group a few times, probably more times than you care to. I'm real active. I'm retired, so I got plenty of time on my hands, and I like music a whole lot, if you haven't figured that out. So, I haven't seen anybody actually doing anything on this group I'm in that actually talks about how you write a song. So I thought I'd put my feet out there and splash the water a little bit and see if anybody notices. Maybe generate some discussion or whatever. There's a whole bunch of ways to write songs, and there's all kinds of people that tell you got to have a formula, you got to have some secret little bit of knowledge up here that enables you to do that stuff. And it's my opinion that every one of us have that little secret key to writing music, and it's right here. It's called your heart. Some people call it your consciousness. Some call it the mind. Some call it the spirit. I kind of refer to it as the spirit, but it's the heart. I apologize for this big microphone up here in the way, but the laptop speakers, our microphone just doesn't do any good. So I'm running a Rode NT1 through my R8 interface. And hopefully it's getting a good sound here. There's a lot of background noise. We're in temporary housing here. We're moving up to Washington State. We were originally here, and then we moved to Idaho for 15, 20 years, and we're moving back now. So I'm in temporary housing here in beautiful downtown Tukwila, Washington, which is, you can smell the Seattle exhaust fumes. And not knocking big cities, but I'm a country boy. I was born on a farm in the San Joaquin Valley of California. Anyway, I'm using a flute today that I picked up at the Cherokee Heritage Center in Oklahoma. And it's it's just down the road from where my grandmother's buried at the cemetery there, along with one of my relatives, Noah Scott. He was in the Cherokee armed unit. There was a mounted unit of Cherokee Indians, and Noah was in that, and he's buried there in the same graveyard with my grandmother. And I bought this, or I should say Nancy bought this for me. My wife Nancy, excuse me, bought this for me because we drove all the way to the cemetery. I was going to play a song for my granny, and I got off without my flutes. We were in such a hurry to get out of town, so we went down to the Cherokee Heritage Center, and we found this flute. I think it was $150, something like that. It's made by a guy named, he signs them long hair. I found out that at the time of this was probably 5, 6, 7 years back, he was a 70-year-old Cherokee. And, it's just simple pine. It's a 5-hole. It's missing that hole. Let's see, backwards here. It's missing that hole right there. Or I should say, other flutes have one added there. There's a myth and an ongoing discussion about whether or not the 6-hole flute is better, has extra holes or whatever. But I can tell you that fingering right there, it plays the extra note that you find on the 6-hole flute. So it's not really an extra note. That's the note right there. And the reality is, if you have a chromatic scale that goes from low up to the octave, chromatic means every note that's possible in that scale. It's kind of what that chromatic thing is. If you can play a chromatic note on this one, there's not a flute made anywhere that's going to get that extra note in there, because this plays all of them. So anyway, that's an aside. I'm here to talk about how to write songs. So the way I do it, sometimes I wake up with a song. I've just got this melody running through my head, and I sit down on the flute, turn on the recorder, and I play the melody. And sometimes I've got to refine it a little bit, whatever. But other times, I just start doodling on the flute, and I listen for things that catch my ear. And, for instance, your basic scale. Okay? You can take any 2 notes there, like could go the other way. You can go to the higher end. Two notes. It's just how you vary the notes, how long you play them, how short you play them, 2 or 3 shorts in a row. So it doesn't take a whole lot of music theory. I got a stray cat here flying around here. My boy has cats, so we're staying with my son and his wife, temporarily helping them with the rent sharing and all that while they get their jobs under their feet. And then we're going to move south of here, somewhere into the Olympia area, maybe McCleary, one of the outlying towns. So at any rate, getting back on topic here. So you just play until you catch something that catches your ear. So you can go, there's 3 notes there. So you can work with those. Or I added the 4th note in there. But you're still, there's a million songs that start off. And there's a lot of them that start. And there's a whole bunch of them that start like. So you just got to find one that you like, And I've recently saw one songwriter telling you how to do it. It says, go find an element of somebody else's song and incorporate that into your music. And well, that's copying. You can call it all kinds of words and you can explain it away, but it's copying. You take somebody else's stuff and use it as copying. If it's incidental to what you're doing, there are certain things like that you're going to hear in a whole bunch of songs. And it's not because somebody went and borrowed that line, it's because it's a common line. So I like to play around with the oddball sounds and in the chromatic scales and all that. There's a scale that I like to play, and I don't even know what it is, but it goes like this. And so I'm going to use that scale and just start finding stuff. So here we go. Try something else. I'll try something else. Maybe I'll go up a half step there. I like that. That has some tension to it. It feels like it wants to go somewhere. So what do I do with that? I go there. And I don't know where I'm going yet, but I go there. So if it wants to go, I go. And where I go just depends on what I find next. So let's try going back down. That didn't sound real good to me. That sounded better. Let's try going up. I like that even better. It's lifting. It's going up. So let's try. Okay, so we've gone up. I could try to go higher, but I don't feel it going any higher than that. So we'll try coming back down to something. We'll just have to figure out where to land. That sounded pretty good. Let's try. That went up. I like that. That's kind of got a haunting, almost a sad sound to it. like that line right there. I like that line, okay? I don't care who you are. I like that line. It doesn't matter if somebody else likes the line. If I start worrying about whether somebody else will like that line, I'll probably throw it away. And it's a good line. I like that line, you know? I just do. So it's going to be part of the song that I'm writing here. And I'm actually writing this song as I do this. So I didn't make this up ahead of time, and this is some dialogue. If you notice, I'm not looking over here reading off of a script. I'm just writing the song. But I like that line. Problem is, it tends to go away. if you wait too long, that line changes. So I'm going to try to cement that in a little bit, and then I'll see if I can go somewhere else with it. Changed already. Now that was some normal stuff at the end there, normal meaning stuff that you hear in a lot of songs. And, I don't have a library up there where I keep track of everything, but I recognize sounds, Just about every song you listen to has elements of other songs in it. And it's not because the writer went and borrowed it, it's just coincidental. And I think there's even some legal definitions of what constitutes fair use and all of that, But if you write it from right here, you don't normally have to worry about whether you copied somebody. If you find out you have inadvertently done so, you just pull the song off the web and stop using it. It's no big deal. And anyway, I think a lot of the problems with people writing songs is they worry too much about what somebody else is going to think about the song, and not do they actually like the song themselves. I guarantee you, if you don't like your music, you've got a problem. If it comes from you and you don't like it, what's that saying? You've got to like it first. And when you write the song, only worry about whether you like it. So let's work on that song a little more here. Well, I like that one, so that's part of the song. Now maybe we need a second part, maybe we don't. Maybe we can just play that over and over and just, embellish it, use flourishing, whatever, change the melody slightly. But maybe we need a second part, so we're ending on that end note. And we started on this note. So in my thinking, probably would want to use a totally different note for the bridge, but it also makes sense to take one of the home notes or the starting or ending note and go somewhere from there. So I'm just going to take the starting note and start there and go to a different place with it. Instead of going up to that haunting sound, I'm just going to go somewhere else. So let's see what I can find. So let me play one to get started and see what happens. Now that wasn't anything great, but it worked. And all I did was go up and down the notes there, and I could hunt and find something else, but if I kind of like what works, the bridge to me is not the focal point of the song. It's just something to break it up a little bit, give it some more interest. So I've kind of written the song. I haven't actually recorded it and maybe fine tuned it and got any subtle nuances going or anything. So I'm just going to try and play the song, kind of, sort of like I've written it here, and see if it's any good. If it isn't any good, I can always hit delete on the computer and start over. So it's no harm done. Ain't nobody listening unless I release this out there anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and try it and see what I get. Here we go, and I'll just try to play the whole song. So that's the whole song. I haven't given it a name yet. That's probably the hardest part of writing a song is getting a name for it. You got to kind of get some kind of a feel, and it seems like everybody always wants something like Haunting Wind or Runs with Bear or some kind of a fancy title. It could be anything. I don't know. It's just, to me, that's one of the hardest parts of writing a song is figuring out what you're going to call the thing when you're done with it. So anyway, I haven't provided a whole lot of technical stuff here. I just showed you how I write a song. I just wrote one right there. And I could write 4 more just like that today, or 6 more, until I get tired of playing. At some point, you just kind of reach this place where it's like nothing sounds good to you at all. And, that's the time you stop, But golly, if you're getting a song coming to you and you can get to a recorder, record that thing, You may never use it. I've taken songs that I've recorded 5 years ago. I've rediscovered them and actually finished them and put them together and put them out there. So the rule of thumb that I always follow is if it makes you smile, you did it right. That's the rule. Don't worry about what somebody else thinks about the song. There's going to be people that are going to like it. There's going to be people that aren't going to like it. I experience that every day. I play something and somebody goes, yeah, or I get thumbs down on the YouTube thing, but I get a lot of thumbs up too, And when I say a lot, I'm not like going viral or anything like that. But I get a lot of people that say they liked it. It touched them, it moved them, and I get others that give me the thumbs down. They don't really say anything. And it doesn't matter, Not everybody likes the Beatles. I think they're one of the best bands that ever came down the pike, but not everybody likes them. I love the Rolling Stones, Not everybody likes them. I don't think a whole lot of Mick Jagger, but I like the Rolling Stones. They play brainstem music, and it's really good music. It gets to you. It makes your feet want to start moving and dancing. So when you're writing a song, write something that you like, and then throw it out there. brace yourself, maybe somebody ain't going to like it, but throw it out there and see, that's the way you find out. A lot of people get stage fright and they get anxiety and stuff. When I was a boy, I was made to play guitar in front of people when I was 6 and 7 years old. And I was not mentally, emotionally prepared for that. And it did me a number. I mean, I tell you what, when I got up in junior high school and the guys learned that I could play guitar, I had invites to be in bands left and right. That was back in the 60s, and new bands and guitars and all that stuff was like the bomb, man. If you played guitar and was in a band, you were something. You walked a little higher than everybody else or something. I don't know how to describe it, but so I got in one of those bands, and when we would play, I would turn beet red, and I would sweat profusely. My shirt would get wet with sweat because I was embarrassed. I was anxious. I don't know. It was kind of dumb, but I was just mortified to be on stage. But I wanted to be on stage so bad that I kept doing it. One day I realized that those people that paid to get in there actually wanted to hear us play. They came to hear us play. And when I realized that, it's like they have already accepted us because they paid their money to come and hear us. So all of a sudden the anxiety started going away. And I realized, once I got over worried about me and actually looking out there, I could see that the audience was enjoying themselves. And, all of that disappeared, the anxiety. It's just a confidence issue. If you're thinking you're going to make a mistake, you probably will, because thinking about it will distract you to the point that you do, Self-fulfilling prophecy, there's all kinds of terms for it, but I'm getting way off topic. But the main thrust is you're writing a song because it sounds good to you. Write that song and please yourself with it first, and then worry about everything else, I don't know, I could go on and on and on. There's, you could say, well, that guy used a big drum beat, and that guy used some strings, and that guy used a lot of reverb on that instrument, and he built this really big sound, and blah, blah, blah. And so you start thinking, well, I need to sound like that. Well, no, you don't. You need to sound like what you sound like. You need to sound like what you hear, and don't worry about sounding like the next guy. Because everybody that's popular right now started out sounding like themselves, and they were discovered. At least that's the term that people use. I discovered that band. No, you didn't. I'm sorry. All those big executives that take all the credit for finding these awesome bands, those bands were out there looking and trying to find a way to get seen. Nobody found them. They were looking for a producer, a record company. They worked their butts off. I guarantee you that. Vince Gill once was asked, well, how does it feel to be an overnight success? And he said, that overnight success took me 10 years of hard work, So, again, I'm off topic. Find a note, find another note that sounds good with it. Does that note want to stay there? Does that note want to go somewhere? If it wants to go somewhere, go there. If it wants to stay there, maybe you've reached the end of your riff. Maybe you need to repeat it till you feel like you need to go somewhere else. It's not rocket science. It's sound. And, if you know how to play the flute and make the basic sounds and all of that, you're on your way. And, you can use any cross fingering you want. You can make any kind of sound you want. If it sounds good to you, that's good enough. It doesn't matter if it's an A flat or a B sharp or a D minus. It doesn't matter. If it sounds good to you, it's good. Let the music theory guys figure it out later and explain what you did. Just do something that sounds good to you. And then try to do that for 3 or 4 minutes so you got a song. Eh? So anyway, thanks for putting up with me, folks. Thanks.